this is Zachary Weiss here for City of Champions Sports, and this essentially is my recap of my week, which actually started Thursday with Pitt Panthers basketball media day for both the men and the women. The women had a disappointing 8-win season and a winless season in the Big East and are hoping to improve with what is likely to become a top 5 youngest team once again. However, that team gets a year older and possibly a year wiser. Agnes Bernardo, the team's head coach, as well as 3 of their players, discussed how they have improved just in Day 7 alone in practice versus last year, Day 7. And again, with a couple of big options in Ashley Anderson, Brianna Kiesel, and Abby Dowd, this team is poised to at least make some noise in their last season in Big East play. Agnes Bernardo is very optimistic about her team's chances, and again, being a young team, hopefully this team can play a fast-paced play of game, and we'll see where it takes them. Their first exhibition is early next month against Lock Haven, so fans can come to that and see what this team is all about. Already having been to a couple of their practices, I'm optimistic that it will be better than an 8-win season. I don't know if it'll necessarily be a winning season. However, one step at a time, and all these ladies could be back because there's no official senior. There's some redshirt juniors, but there are no seniors on this team, so that all of these team members can come back and improve their work this season as they start anew next season in the ACC. For the men's team, a 22-17 season, and although they finished their season with a win, winning the CBI was not exactly how they thought that would end up. And unfortunately, they were dealt with a lot of injuries, and I talked to their athletic trainer, Tony Salisi, and he just said that there was just a lot of injuries, and it really held this team back, and they were kind of judging how long things would go and how long they were out, and just this off-season, there were 2 more injuries, and Trey Woodall, who's been on and off injured last season, and J.J. Moore, who had another injury, and Woodall's 100%, J.J. Moore's 100%, and I talked to him, he's ready to go, he's hungry to play, and he said he's beyond starving, actually. So this Pitt team, the sky is the limit for this Pitt men's team, this depth. J.J. Moore again said that they're a 15-deep team, a quote, 15-deep team, which when was the last time you could say that? Their front court is very powerful. Point guard options include Trey Woodall. James Robinson is a backup. He definitely showed a lot of potential in that blue-gold game just yesterday. That 15-point performance, and just behind-the-back dribbling, ball handling, and control passing. He picked up his play from the Summer League and added some scoring elements to his game. Definitely something to look out for. Definitely an option off the bench. He says he's learning from Trayvon Woodall, and he's taking bits and pieces of his game and making it work for him. So good for him, and definitely some potential for successful Pitt teams in the future. Other point guard options would include John Johnson, who said he's ready to play the point guard. That's a position he played in high school. However, Jamie Dixon had him play more of a shooting guard kind of a role, which was kind of hard for him to fit into last year, and he kind of felt like he had to do a little bit too much. Dante Taylor very well could see bench play. Talib Zana had 20 points in that blue-gold game and continued to show more consistent range, 7 for 7 from the field in the blue-gold game. And I know the blue-gold game you don't weigh too much in, but Zana's range has always been there, and it looks like he's becoming more and more consistent each year. And with Steven Adams, with his double-double, 14 points, 11 rebounds, he's showed that he's added post-game to his play. He has a post presence now, and defensively he can block and he can do just about everything. His hands need a little bit of work, dropped a few of those passes, but again, first official game kind of with that scrimmage, so we'll see what he has, but he should be the 5. Zana, I expect to be the 4. Him and Dante Taylor will definitely fight out to be that 4, although J.J. Moore could see some time at that power forward position as well. But you have to give the edge to Zana. He's a little bit better offensively. Dante Taylor's a little better defensively in getting the rebounds, but Zana stays out of foul trouble better than Taylor does. It really depends on who performs better at practice, and I think that Dixon could, hate to use a baseball word kind of, but platoon the two and kind of ride the hot hand through the rest of the season. Midnight Madness was on Friday for both the Pitt men's and women's team, and women's team got introduced, and Abby Dowd won the 3-point shootout. Jamie Dixon was the talk of Friday for sure. He came dressed as Jackie Moon, a Will Ferrell character from the movie Semi-Pro. He says the motivation was one of his fellow coaches, Brian Regan, was trick-or-treat costume shopping for his daughter and happened to fall across the Jackie Moon tracksuit and wig and decided to buy it for Coach Dixon, and the rest is history. Lines were recorded with Jason Richards, and Jamie Dixon did a full 9-minute 27 introduction of all of his players, which included lines such as Cam Wright's lives in mother's basement and meatloaf is his favorite food, and Talib Zana having a Justin Bieber shrine. So each player got a joke, and both the men's and the women's team got a kick out of that. Women's team then did a little bit of dancing, and then J.J. Moore proceeded to become the 3-time slam dunk champion. On the football field, Pitt, we still don't know which team they are. We really don't. The first half, Pitt was the Pitt that played Virginia Tech. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But when they went for that 4th and 2 and ran it with Russell Shell, didn't work out. Wrong play call. If you're going to go for it, pass. But at that point, if I'm head coach Paul Chryst, I punt that football. You have too much on the line. It's a 21-14 game with Louisville getting the ball back, and Louisville is an undefeated team for a reason with a great quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater, and you've had 2 rushing touchdowns at that point. So at that moment, I completely disagree with the play call. You have to let Matt Yocklick, the punter, punt that ball away. Give your team, at worst case, a tie game headed into your first possession to start the second half of the game, and Teddy Bridgewater burned them for a last-second field goal there, and then the 75-yard touchdown pass, and the rest was history. That 4th down decision was what swung that game around. Short football field momentum clearly went to Louisville as they finally figured it out, and they made the decision that they didn't want to roll over and die, and that Pitt had a little bit of a role in that series, and they wanted to end that. So Pitt falls to 2-4, and now they face a Buffalo team, which I don't know. Pitt's going to be traveling to Buffalo. I don't know if I'm too optimistic right now because I don't know which Pitt team I'm going to see. If we see the dominant Pitt team, then expect Pitt to win. If we expect the same old Pitt that we've seen for about 75% of the season, then Pitt will lose this game as well. And they need to win 7 games to get to the bowl, so that means that they'd have to win every single game. And there's still tons of tough opponents left for this Panther team to play. And it's a long road. Sunday was the blue-gold game. As I touched on, the blue team won 65-55 behind play from Talib Zana, James Robinson, and Steven Adams. It was a 3 freshmen, and then Zana and Trey Ziegler, led team against a team that was led by Trayvon Woodall and Lamar Patterson, the 2 best all-around players on the entire roster, if you ask me, and they just weren't able to get it done. 30-17, they were outscored in that first half, and they just weren't getting passes up, and they really shortchanged their team. Steve Adams set the tempo with the first 2 baskets of the game, and from there they just never looked back. They were well coached by Pat Sandel, who was the coach. Jamie Dixon was actually doing commentary work at that point, but the blue team looked really good, and a lot got to see a lot of the depth as every single player got to play. The 2 players that played the least, Mike Leasack, a walk-on, and John Johnson, saw 7 minutes each, so the fans that did show up got to see a little bit of every single member of that team. But definitely look forward to things from the men's women's basketball. I will be providing coverage hopefully for both. And pretty much that's your 5 good minutes with Zach. Now back to you guys.